Welcome to the Archer Temple podcast, teachings for sovereign awakening, sacred union, and embodied devotion. I'm Christopher Shaw, here with Aeon Archer. May this transmission meet you exactly where you are and open the next doorway on your path. Let us begin.
Welcome everyone, and happy Pride. Welcome to our YouTube live viewers, our podcast listeners, to those of you from all over the world and those here on Zoom. We are so grateful that you are here with us today. So this week, the streets of Puerto Vallarta have been full of color, celebrating gay pride. Flags and music and bodies moving without apology. Laughter that has paid a price to be free. Joy that knows exactly what it cost. And we are gathered here, some of you in those streets, some of you watching from living rooms across the world, to ask the question that temples are supposed to ask. What does the sacred have to say about this? Not what does religion say, and not what your family says, and not what the loudest voices on the internet say, but what does the sacred say? And as a gay man standing here today after years of trying to reconcile spirituality, masculinity, longing, devotion, identity, and truth, I know this conversation is not abstract. For many of us, this has never merely been philosophy. It has been survival. I want to suggest to you today that the sacred has been saying something through queer existence for as long as human beings have been alive, and that many of our institutions were simply not listening. Today, we listen. Every tradition that has harmed queer people shares one theological error. They made God small. They took the infinite, unmappable, overflowing reality that mystics across every tradition have pointed toward, and they collapsed it into a single image, a single gender, a single approved form of love, a single acceptable body. And then they called that image God and defended it with tremendous violence. Kashmir Shaivism has a word for this, Anava mala, the primal contraction. The root illusion that the infinite has somehow been reduced to something bounded, something limited, something that can be contained and controlled. The Shaiva master said that this is the deepest wound in human consciousness. The belief that reality is somewhat smaller than it actually is. Most religious harm against queer people is Anava mala, dressed investments. Most religious harm against queer people is Anava mala, dressed investments. It is the worship of a contracted God. The Sufi masters saw it differently. Ibn Arabi, perhaps one of the greatest mystical theologians Islam has ever produced, wrote that God is al-Haq, the real, and that the real cannot be exhausted by any single form, any single name, or any single face. He wrote that wherever love appears, the real is appearing. Wherever love appears, the real is appearing. Sit with that for a moment. Imagine how different the world would have been if our institutions had actually believed it. The Buddhist tradition adds its own precision. The Madhyamaka philosophers remind us that all categories are conventional. They're useful, but they're not ultimate. The categories we use to sort human beings, including the categories of gender and sexuality, are real the way a map is real. They point at something, but they are not the territory. The territory is always more than the map. So what are three traditions converge? So all of these three traditions, converge on this. Reality is inexhaustibly multiple. Consciousness expresses itself in forms without limits. And any theology that tries to cage that multiplicity is not protecting God, it is projecting its own fear onto God. Now, I want to say something carefully, and I want to say it theologically, not merely socially, politically, or emotionally. Queer existence is revelatory. Queer existence is revelatory, not because queer people are special in some separate category, because we absolutely do not need another hierarchy, but because queer existence by its nature refuses the categories that small god religion depends on. A non-binary person does not fit the binary. A gay man does not perform the prescribed script of masculine power over feminine receptivity. A transgender woman is not what the system said she was supposed to be. A lesbian couple reveals that love, devotion, and sacred partnership are not dependent upon patriarchal structure. And in every one of these refusals, there is a theological act. Because Kashmir Shaivism teaches us that Shiva is not only masculine. Shiva and Shakti are not two things. They are one consciousness appearing as a dance of polarity. The divine masculine and the divine feminine are not prescriptions for the human bodies. They are descriptions of how consciousness itself moves, expanding and contracting, witnessing and creating, emptiness and form. The whole universe is a gender-fluid love affair between being and becoming. And queer people, by living outside the prescribed binary, are not aberrations from the cosmic order. They are living demonstrations of the cosmic order's actual complexity. The Sufis speak of tajalli, divine self-disclosure. God perpetually reveals God's self through creation in new forms, new faces, and new expressions. No two disclosures are the same, because the infinite cannot repeat itself. Every person is a unique face of the real that has never existed before and will never exist again. Queer people are not mistakes. They are new faces of the real. The Buddha taught that clinging to fixed views causes suffering. Ditthi is rigid seeing. The insistence that things must be one way, that categories are fixed, and that what we inherited is the final truth. Rigid seeing. The queer community, by simply existing, has cracked open ditthi in our culture. It has forced the world to see more clearly. It has done what the Dharma asks, revealed impermanence, revealed multiplicity, and revealed that what we thought was fixed is not. This is not accommodation theology. God loves you anyway. This is recognition theology. God is visible in you specifically. And now I would like to reclaim the word pride for a moment because it often gets misunderstood. Religious critics love to invoke the classical teaching that pride is the root sin, and they are not entirely wrong about that teaching. Hubris, the inflation of the ego, the refusal to bow before anything greater than yourself, is definitely spiritually dangerous. But every wisdom tradition agrees. But that is not what pride means here. The pride we celebrate today is not the pride of ego that refuses to kneel. It is the pride of the soul that refuses to disappear. There is a difference between the ego saying, I am greater than everything, and the soul saying, I have a right to exist. One is the inflation that destroys. The other is the dignity that heals. For centuries, queer people were handed a spiritual message that said, you are so broken, so disordered, so offensive to God, that the holiest thing you could do is erase yourself. And that hurts. Many of us were told to pray ourselves away. Some were told that celibacy and self-denial were the only acceptable paths. Many were told in one form or another that their truest self was their worst self, and that God required their disappearance as the price of belonging. And many never survived the shame imposed upon them. Some died in silence. Some disappeared into addiction, secrecy, self-hatred, or despair. and some never lived long enough to see a world where they could breathe openly. Pride is the collective refusal of that message. And from a mystical standpoint, it is the correct refusal, because pratyabhajina, the central teaching of Kashmir Shaivism, means recognition. The recognition of one's own divine nature. The moment when the soul stops believing the contraction and remembers what it actually is. Pratyabhijana. It's hard to say this word. Pratyabhijna, there we go, is not arrogance. Pratyabhijna is not arrogance. It is homecoming. When a queer person stands in their own skin and says, I am here, I am whole, and I am not a mistake, that is not ego inflation. It is pratyabhijna. That is the soul recognizing itself in the mirror of the real. Pride at its spiritual depth is recognition. Now, you guys know me, I'm going to push a little bit. So here I'm going to push a little because this is a temple and not merely a celebration. If pride is sacred, then it also asks something of us. The Sufi teaching of Fana, the dissolution of the false self in God, reminds us that liberation is not the same as the ego winning. When the mystic reaches union, it is not because they have finally gotten everything they wanted. It is because they have let go of everything that was not real. The shadow question for pride culture is this: have we traded one rigid identity for another? Have we moved from I must disappear to belong to I must perform correctly to belong? Have we replaced one set of rules about how to be human with another? Is there room in our liberation for the queer person who is also uncertain, also searching, also failing, and also evolving? The Dharma question for every liberation movement is always this: are we building a bigger cage? Or are we finally dismantling the cage itself? Shiva holds the Dhammaru, the drum in one hand and the fire in the other, creation and destruction simultaneously. True liberation is not the triumph over one particular form. It is the recognition that all forms are held, all forms are temporary, all forms are sacred, and all forms will ultimately dissolve back into the one that gave them birth. So we celebrate today because we hold it lightly. Because even our identities, precious, hard-won, and worth defending, are not the final word. The final word is the one who wears all faces. Let us close in prayer. Divine light in us, through us, and as us. And to every soul joining us today, whatever brought you here, whether you arrived in celebration, in longing, in grief, in curiosity, or simply hoping to feel less alone, we honor your presence. And for those who have spent years trying to make themselves smaller to fit someone else's idea of God, may today become a moment of recognition. The sacred remembering of what you already are. May you remember that you are not what shame told you. You are not what fear told you. You are not what rejection told you. You are the face of the real that has never existed before. And for those celebrating in the streets this weekend, may your joy become prayer. May your laughter become liberation. May your dancing become remembrance. And may every color, every song, every embrace, every body unshamed become Tajali, the divine revealing itself through human expression. Because that too is sacred. And for those of us carrying grief today, for the ones who lost family, lost belonging, lost years of their lives trying to survive, and for the ones who loved people who did not make it here, we hold you gently, because your grief is sacred too. Because the deepest love has always carried the deepest ache. And for those still becoming, still questioning, still healing, still learning how to see themselves clearly in the mirror of the real, welcome home. You are exactly where you are supposed to be. The sacred is not waiting for you to arrive. The sacred is what you already are. So may every being remember, no institution, no ideology, no fear-based theology has the authority to declare profane what the divine has already called sacred. May we leave here today more compassionate, more courageous, more honest, and more willing to let one another exist fully in our humanity. Om Namah Shivaya. Basmillah ir-Rahman ir-Rahim. Gate gate paragate. Gone, gone, gone beyond. All faces, all love, all one. Happy Pride, everyone. Om Namah Shivaya. Aeon will now lead us in a guided meditation to embody this teaching. My beloved.
Om Namah Shivaya. Hey, Daryl, you made it. Nice to see you. All right, everyone. Let's take a moment to land fully in our bodies, to receive. Here you may gently close your eyes. Begin by taking a nice, slow, deep breath in through the nose. And exhale softly. Once again, breathing in. And letting go. One more breath together, deep breath in. And as you release, letting the body soften a little more. Begin to notice the chair beneath you, gravity supporting you. Noticing that in this moment, there is nowhere else you need to be. Nothing you need to prove. Nothing you need to become. Gently bringing your awareness to the center of your chest, the heart space. Not the idea of the heart, but the felt experience of it. Notice what is there today. Releasing all judgment, all effort to change anything. Allowing there to be a sense of openness, tenderness, relief. Whatever is here in this space, let it belong. Now imagine a soft golden light beginning to glow in the center of your heart. Warm, gentle, alive. Not something coming from outside of you, but emerging from within you. With each breath, the light grows a little brighter, a little warmer, a little more expansive. Now silently repeat within yourself, I do not need to make myself smaller to belong. I do not need to make myself smaller to be loved. Now imagine all the versions of yourself that you have tried to hide. The parts of you that felt rejected, misunderstood, ashamed, afraid, too much or not enough. See them gently standing before you now as human expressions longing to be embraced. And from the center of your heart, allow that golden light to move toward them without judgment, without correction, without rejection, simply recognition. Silently say to them, you were never a mistake. You never had to disappear to be worthy of love. You belong here. Now reclaiming all of the hidden parts of yourself, softening them into the light, not erased, not denied, but welcomed home. Now allow that golden light to expand beyond your body, beyond your identity, beyond labels, beyond fear, expanding outward, filling the entire room around you. Expanding further, filling this community, touching every person joining us today and every person who will watch later. The ones celebrating, the ones grieving, the ones healing, and the ones learning how to feel safe being seen. And now silently offer these words to the world. May all beings everywhere be loved and free. May all beings everywhere be loved and free. Taking one final deep breath in slowly through the nose and release. Gently bringing your awareness back to the body, back to the room, and back to this moment. And when you are ready, slowly open the eyes and come back to this place. Thank you.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful meditation, babe.
Oh, thanks.
Welcome back, family. Before we close today's service, we would like to take a moment to speak about sacred exchange, because spaces like this matter, not because they're perfect and not because they belong to one religion or ideology, but because genuine spaces where human beings can gather honestly, breathe deeply, ask real questions, and remember their humanity together have become increasingly rare. And what we are building here through Merkaba Temple is not simply content. It is a living sanctuary, a place where people across the world can reconnect to spirituality without needing to abandon themselves in the process. And that only continues through participation, through community, through shared devotion, and through people deciding that sacred space is worth sustaining. One of the deepest shifts I have experienced in my own life was realizing that generosity is not just about helping something survive. Generosity changes the person who gives, because every conscious act of giving says, I choose to participate in something larger than fear. And in a world constantly teaching people to contract, protect, withhold, and disconnect, there is something profoundly spiritual about choosing to nourish what brings healthy, healing, beauty, truth, and belonging into the world. So if Merkaba Temple has touched your life, if these teachings have supported you, if this community has helped you feel less alone, we invite you to give today, not from pressure and not from obligation, but from alignment, from reciprocity, from recognizing that what we feed with love grows. Your support helps us sustain our weekly services, our music, our technology, our gatherings, future retreats, scholarships for retreats, and the continued expansion of this temple throughout the world. And whether your offering is large or small, what matters most is the sincerity behind it. So please take out your phone, open Venmo, type in Merkaba Temple, Merkaba Temple, and donate. Or if you'd like, you can donate on our website at merkabatemple.com/donate, where you could also choose to donate weekly, monthly, or yearly and use a credit card or pay through PayPal. Thank you guys so much. Guys and gals, thank you so much for helping us build something beautiful together. We thank you for believing that spaces rooted in truth, love, dignity, and awakening still matter in this world.
Before we close today's service, we want to share a few ways you can stay connected to this community and the work we are building together. First, if you have not subscribed to the Archer Shaw Temple podcast, you are seriously missing out.
Wow.
Every week we release teachings, meditations, conversations, and transmissions designed to support healing, awakening, embodiment, recovery, sacred relationship, and spiritual growth. So whether you are driving, walking, traveling, integrating, or simply needing something real to listen to during the week, the podcast is a beautiful way to stay connected to the temple between services. You can find the Archer Shaw Temple podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or directly on our website at archershaw.guru/listen.
And for the last 18 years, I've been helping people navigate addiction, recovery, trauma, sexuality, betrayal, and identity reconstruction. Many of the people I work with are high functioning externally, but internally, they're exhausted. They're living double lives, triple lives, and sometimes quadruple lives, successful on the outside while slowly dying on the inside. And what I want people to know is this: recovery is absolutely possible. Not just surviving addiction, but actually becoming free of it. In 90 days, I can help the right person achieve sobriety, maintain sobriety, and begin genuinely to thrive in their recovery. Not through shame, not through punishment, but through truth, nervous system healing, accountability, spiritual integration, and deep identity transformation. I currently have openings in my private coaching and recovery practice. So if this is something inside of you that is telling yourself that you can no longer live this way, listen to that voice. And if that's not you, but you know someone else that could benefit, please let them know about my openings. You can schedule a free call with me at archershaw.guru/book online, and we can see if we're good fits.
And our summer here in Puerto Vallarta is already beginning to fill up with private immersions and couples retreats. These experiences are deeply personalized containers for healing, reconnection, nervous system reset, spiritual growth, sacred intimacy, recovery, ceremony, and transformation. We got lots of lists. So if you've been feeling called toward deeper work, we encourage you to begin planning now, especially for fall retreats and immersions here in Puerto Vallarta. This is a powerful week of healing, clarity, embodiment, community, and transformation held in the mountains of Colorado during I kind of skipped the paragraph on my teleprompter, please forgive me, during our Colorado immersion in August the 3rd through the 9th. You can learn more about all of our retreats and immersions at merkabatemple.com.
And finally, if you believe in what we're building here, please, y'all, help us spread the word. Share the podcast, invite people to the temple, share posts, replay videos, and tell people about your experience. Aeon is now on TikTok.
Hey.
So follow Aeon on TikTok, because communities like this grow through human connection. Through people saying, you should come experience this with me. So truly, thank you for being here. Thank you for believing in our sacred space. And thank you for helping us build our temple.
So let's take a breath together and gently return to stillness. Deep breath in and release. Divine light in us, through us, and as us. Thank you for this gathering today. Thank you for every heart that showed up here, open, curious, healing, celebrating, grieving, questioning, and willing. Thank you for the reminder that the sacred has never belonged to only one face, one culture, one gender, one tradition, or one expression of love. Help us to remember what so many mystics throughout history have tried to teach, that beneath all the identities, all the labels, all the stories, all there is one life moving through all beings. May those who have spent years hiding feel safe enough to be seen, those carrying shame remember their innocence, and those exhausted from performing finally exhale. Those still searching for belonging discover that the divine was never separate from them to begin with. Teach us how to love more courageously, how to honor difference without creating separation, how to remain open-hearted in a world that often becomes hardened by fear. May all of us leave this service today more compassionate, more truthful, more free, and more willing to let other beings exist fully in their humanity. And may this temple continue to grow as a sanctuary for healing, awakening, belonging, and sacred remembrance throughout the world. We offer gratitude for every visible and invisible hand supporting this work, for every soul gathered here today, and for the mystery of life itself. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Guru Om, Amen, Aho, Ashe, and so it is. Thank you for being here with us at Archer Shaw Temple. If something in this teaching helped your body soften or brought you back into yourself, let it keep moving. Share it with someone who's ready. This temple is sustained through conscious participation, through those who feel the resonance and choose to support the work from clarity, not pressure. If you feel called into right exchange, you're welcome to support the mission on Venmo at Merkaba Temple, all one word. And if you'd like to go deeper, you can schedule a complimentary soul alignment session at archershaw.guru. Until next time, take care of your nervous system, walk gently, and stay close to what's true.